Don't look now, but Auburn's receivers seem to keep taking steps forward.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. We're dapping it up with the Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us. I'm not buying Freeze and the quarterback stuff. I'm just not. We'll dive into that as well as it's weird how mad people are about everything when it comes to Auburn. It's pretty strange. We may have a DAP rant with that. We'll see. But Auburn's receivers, Darrell, yesterday was the last viewing window of fall camp for the media, and just reading several of the reports for folks that were there, it seems like Auburn's receivers looked better. Some of the folks that I read said that it was the best they've looked all camp, which is what you want to hear, because that kind of seems to be one of the larger questions right now about this team and about this offense.
Yeah, I heard some comments, like a couple catches, like particularly one that Cam Coleman made. Two of the guys that we know, Kyle Rush and Lance Dahl, looked at each other and said, "Did you just see that? Can you believe that?" I mean, and for that response to come from Cam Coleman, which we're used to doing kind of amazing things, I think it's starting to click. Yeah, I think it's starting to click. I think that it started as you
contact jersey. That's off, or no non-contact jersey for Cam.
Correct. Coleman. I think as you get closer to the season starting, it starts to the focus starts to sharpen a little bit. Things get honed up. You know what I mean? You taste it. You played. You start to feel it. It gets real. You're within 10 days, whatever. So I think that now it's starting to get to the point where there's a lot more laser focus. There's some pinpoint accuracy. There's some things where people are really dialed in. It's not as mundane of the, we're going through. You're prepping for game action, virtually. So it doesn't surprise me that you're seeing and hearing better reports.
Yeah, one of the reports I read was from Justin Ferguson of the Auburn Observer, and they talked about how during the pace period, which he added a note that it felt different than a normal pace period, but other positions rotated out, and it was Jackson Arnold that kind of remained in at quarterback, which we'll touch more on, that later in the show. But I do think there's something to having a consistent passer in there where you're not rotating guys in and out, which will be more normal once you start prepping for the season, not spring, not fall camp, but actually prepping for Baylor. And this did seem to feel like a turning point from fall camp to Baylor prep, which is good. And I think that's going to help as well, Jackson and the receivers and the overall flow of the offense, where you're not just switching out, every few reps.
Absolutely. The continuity. Now, look, we heard even in the offseason, remember how the receivers were talking about, man, Jackson's wearing us out. He wants to throw all the time. That's good. That's a base. You start with that foundation. Then you start with fall camp, and you rotate receivers in and out. We never saw the same combinations early on in practice, 1, 2, 3, who went out there. You're going to start seeing that. You're going to start seeing familiarity. Yeah. You're going to start seeing a trend. And when that happens, my goodness, you can't help it. It's human nature. You get more comfortable. You understand tendencies, reads, where to throw the ball. I'm hearing a lot of the back shoulder stuff is really clicking, and back shoulder is all about trust and knowing someone's going to be at a certain spot.
Yeah, timing. And if you nail it, there's really only so much you can do to defend it.
You can't. It's the ball is thrown in a place that only your receiver can catch it, or it goes out of bounds.
In theoy, yeah. In theory. Now, if you miss, it could be bad.
Yeah,
right?
If you underthrow it or throw it to the field of play a little bit too much, it gets picked.
Yeah, it could be bad for sure. So we'll see exactly what happens with that. Cam Coleman, any 50-50 ball, I think all of a sudden shifts to 65-35 or 70-30, right? Which is ideal. Eric Singleton still in that non-contact jersey. Don't take him out of it. Keep him in it. I don't care. Looked like his knee was taped up because of that deep thigh bruise is kind of what's been circling there. Let me tell you a name that keeps popping up And I think it's similar to like the Omar Mabson thing where like he's a fall fling. We're talking about him a lot, but when the season starts, I think, he's going to have a smaller role than maybe the discussion that he's having. Bryce Cain. I keep hearing Bryce Cain's name, and I think it's just because the slot guys have been limited over the last week or so, and Bryce Cain has really stepped up. But just putting Bryce Cain's name out there, just to kind of say like, hey, it sounds like he made some plays yesterday.
It's so weird how sometimes guys that you get so high on when they recruit become forgotten. They become an afterthought. Yeah. But I think he was part of the Freeze 4, Freeze 5, whatever. Bryce Cain was thought really – I remember when he came to Auburn, people were talking about the way he ran his routes were a little bit more advanced than what most freshmen are. And then he becomes kind of lost in the shuffle of transfers you bring in and guys that are super freshmen that kind of got out in front of him. I would love if Perry Thompson and Bryce Cain and some of these guys emerge and start getting snaps. That would really make me happy because it just even adds more to the depth. But he is a forgotten name of somebody who was very highly touted and people were excited to get coming out of high school. Sometimes we forget that.
Yeah, it kind of makes the path to, in 2026, if you go to a 4 wide receiver set, I don't think it's crazy now to put the Freeze 4 out there because of what Bryce and Malcolm can do in the slot and then what Cam and Perry can do on the outside based off of what we've heard throughout fall camp. And so that's kind of fun to think about. Sounds like Horatio had a few moments. I think Ferg added a note that Horatio had a drop, which has been kind of uncharacteristic, but just kind of something worth noting. And then I keep hearing things that are good about Preston Howard, not a receiver, but will be a part of the passing game. A note that I think is worth mentioning, Darrell, is we've kind of alluded to the chatter of, okay, what happens if Connor Lew goes down? It seems like they prepared for that a little bit yesterday. In fact, like the starting offense was they had Dylan Wade at center, and then they put Tutal Miller at right guard, and then they moved Jeremiah Wright to left guard to replace Dylan Wade. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but I like that they're being proactive instead of reactive here.
Yeah, it's flexibility. Being able to have interchangeable parts is very, very it's a luxury. I guess you could call it a necessity when you're talking about playing in the SEC, but I like that as well. I also heard from 2 different sources that probably the best ball thrown, the most prettiest ball thrown and the prettiest catch as far as the best hookup of the day was between Jackson Arnold and Malcolm Simmons. That there was some play that they had that was the nicest one of the day. So that's always encouraging to hear that as well. I think that what we'll be hearing, Zach, as you get 10 days out is it probably will be a different name popping up from day to day, and that's exactly how we want it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it felt like the offense had more life yesterday just talking to people and reading between the lines than what we've seen so far, which is kind of on schedule, right, Dap?
Yeah, I mean, look, the RPO game I heard is at a different level. Again, we've heard this is no secret. The RPO game is exactly what Jackson Arnold is comfortable running, and the RPO game, when they were running that on offense, it's really effective. It's the dropping back to pass game. But if Auburn doesn't run that, I don't even know, maybe there's a time where you have to, but look, they're blowing plays done early, blowing them dead early. I mean, you're taking away a tremendous weapon in the RPO game with Jackson Arnold in his legs. So we all need to keep that in perspective as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree there. It's weird how mad people are about so many things. People just love to poke Auburn. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Monarch Money. Darrell, most people can't name all their financial accounts or what they're even worth, whether it's their 401ks or certain investments or properties. And you don't have that full picture, and you can end up leaving money on the table. I mean, we forget about it, even the spending. And there's so many different things and services you can do. Monarch Money brings it all together on one easy to use application as well as website with the dashboard of all of this. I mean, a lot of us, like, you've got your business stuff as well, and then your personal stuff. I mean, it's kind of hard to keep everything together, and Monarch Money does that.
It's very tidy. It's very budgetary. It's very revealing as to where you spend your money, and it allows you to budget in a more effective and proficient way.
Yeah. Hey, don't let this financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year. Monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at Open Phone. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. And think about the last time you needed a service and you called somebody and they didn't answer. What do? You call the next person. Darrell, you run a company. You understand how important it is, whether it's a potential client or an active client. You got to make sure that communication's there.
You can't miss calls. You can't. I mean, they're absolutely vital. And even I don't care about the age of digital. It's still very, very important that you cannot miss business phone calls.
Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communication. See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That is OPENPHONE, openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Darrell, I mean, it's tricky almost to figure out where you want to start with this because so many people are mad and angry about so many different things. Whether it's Auburn claiming the national titles, I got asked yesterday about something that happened 2 weeks ago with Hugh Freeze being animated, throwing the visor down at Jackson Arnold, or the answer about the quarterbacks, which we'll dive more into in a little bit. But there's just Cam's number being retired. I mean, there's just so many things that people just want to be mad at. And a lot of it's outside of Auburn directed in. And man, we need to play some football. Darrell Dapprich.
Thought about this for a long time. I think when you're inside the Auburn bubble and you're inside the vacuum, it's easy to kind of feel a little bit battered or defensive or picked on. Why is this going on? Why is it always Auburn? But I think there's a real issue. And I'll give you an example. I was on a radio show yesterday morning for 15 minutes and every question was negative. Every question was negative. And I love the guys that I'm not trying to call them out. When we get done, the last question was, why do you think Auburn for years has always had these kind of controversies? I said, because people keep asking questions over and over like you just did and don't talk about Cam's number getting retired or any of the positive things, or we're 10 days away from kickoff.
Right.
I think what happens is Auburn University could come out with a cure for cancer and there would be a group of people that would complain that the lab coats were dirty. I mean, that's just how stupid and petty.
What's the other one you said earlier?
Well, this is true that Auburn University could hand out bags of gold to everybody and people would complain how heavy it is. So there is and I'm talking about, it's not just the outside people. It is people that are losing their minds over a statement that Hugh Freeze makes that to me is absolutely playing mind games. Now, look, you and I have talked about this. Sometimes Auburn's its own worst enemy. They don't say the right things. They do things from a PR standpoint where you shake your head. Sometimes too much transparency. I wish Auburn would not answer questions and clam up a little bit. But to answer that question and say, yeah, all three will play, immediately the Baylor defensive coordinator has to prepare for 3 quarterbacks maybe. And I guarantee you the Baylor defensive coordinator is like, that's bull crap. He's playing mind games. He ain't playing 3 quarterbacks. He's trying to screw with our mind. Just think.
But in the back of his mind, maybe he's like, hanging out with his kids at night, or maybe he's like going down, to sleep, and he's like, should I watch Ashton Daniels Stanford tape? I guess I probably should. Well, I guess I would spend a little bit of time on it. Why not?
Yeah. And again, that's what any defensive coordinator understands when somebody is bluffing or they're throwing out there to play the mind games. It's the same thing that people used to do for years and years. And they'll say, hey, we think so-and-so might be playing Saturday. He's looking good. He's getting ready. He's overcoming that injury. And then he doesn't play. But you're doing that so that the coach has to prepare for that player. Just don't overreact. People are looking for things
Right.
to go crazy about. This national championship thing, full disclosure, you've known me for a while now. I have a real problem with hypocrisy. I hate double standards. I hate So I would be a hypocrite if I came on here and told you that I was all for all these national championships getting claimed. I'm being honest. And it may upset some of our fan base, but I can't be who I'm not. I used to make fun of Alabama for claiming all those national titles, the one that the laundromat gave them in 1936, true story. And I'm going, so how can I turn around and make fun of a school for doing it and then be excited when Auburn does it? But on the flip side of that, how can Alabama fans in this current time?
That's the one that's driving me crazy.
Make
and
fun
I've had
of
so
Auburn.
many killer tweets written back out. And I'm
Well,
like, I'm just not doing it. I'm just not doing it.
It goes both ways. The hypocrisy goes both ways. In 1983, and I only use Alabama as an example because it's the one that is most prevalent. In 1983, go back and look at Alabama's media guide. It claimed 6 national titles in their media guide. In 1984, it jumped to 11. It's amazing how you can win 5 national championships in 1 year.
Well, we kind of did it.
Alabama fans are losing their minds and melting in Tuscaloosa because Auburn claimed them kind of like overnight. Well, I mean, look, it's no different. That's why I can't really get on board. Do I feel like maybe this should have been done earlier or they had a claim for it? Yeah, but they didn't. In the poll era, it wasn't given to them. But for a fan base to dump on Auburn for doing it when you claimed one, like I said, when you went 8-4, is ironic and hypocritical. And I can't go to that I can't go to that same level.
I understand.
But so I'm not trying to waffle. I'm just saying I'm not for it because I wasn't for it 10 years ago when I joked on my Alabama friends and said that's just stupid. So I can't flip the switch, and that's not genuine. But I also think they need to remember how they acted about it when people came after them for claiming national titles, right? And here's the last point I'll make real quick.
Are you moving away from the Natty thing? I want to say on the Natty thing just for a second.
Yeah, go ahead with the Natty thing.
I think whether you agree with it or not, I think most people who watch this will agree. I think doesn't matter. But this is another instance of, I think, Cohen saying, like, I really don't care. I'm going to do what I think is best for Auburn. And I think that's something that, like, isn't enough of the part of the discussion for the pro Auburn crowd. Is I think this is another really solid example of leadership for John Cohen.
I think that's a great point, and I'm glad you said it because I would have forgot my other point on this. People are too worried about what other fan bases think about Auburn.
Yes,
Auburn is Auburn. Screw what they think. You don't need their permission.
Yes,
you don't need their approval or their validation. If you want to do it, you do it, and don't worry about what other fan bases think. You don't need their stamp of approval. Okay.
Correct.
I see people, and I'm not going to mention names, national media members dogging Auburn for retiring Cam Newton's number and throw the $180,000 dig out there, best quarterback money can buy, from a national media person who pulls for a team that stuffed cash in McDonald's bags and gave them to, you know who it is.
Got it.
So, okay, that's hypocritical. Or another national media guy that pulls for a team that its players are trying out for Fast and Furious 12. They get so many speeding tickets.
Georgia.
So all I'm asking, for the love of God, is just be consistent and not so hypocritical. That's all.
There you go. There you go. Are you mad all the time? Let us know. Let us know in the comments down below. Darrell, I'm not buying Freeze and the quarterback stuff. I'm not. That's next right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Daily fantasy. It lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason's already heating up, and college football, thank goodness, is just days away with the week 0. So Prize Picks, super fun stuff. You can pick higher or lower on several different score projections. And obviously, the more you pick and the more you get right, the more money you win. And one of the things that sets Prize Picks apart from other fantasy outlets, Darrell, is they have the flex play option, which even if one of your picks misses, you can still double your money. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Forgiveness and something like this, that's pretty awesome.
Wow.
So Prize Picks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, secure, and safe. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word. LOCKEDONCollege, get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5. Prize Picks, run your game. Today's show also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The line for Auburn and Baylor, it's been back and forth. Snip, snap, snip, snap. And now we've got Auburn 2.5-point favorite over Baylor.
That's a great reference.
And Auburn, August 26th is FanDuel Futures Day. It's a brand new holiday. Congrats to all who celebrate over at our friends at FanDuel. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling, for Drake May to win MVP or, whoever could win the AFC North, like the Ravens, the Browns.
Yeah, keep going.
Or the Bengals.
Right.
Those are the only options.
That offensive line, I'm sure they're going to,
Yep. There you go. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. So much talk. I've gotten so many texts and messages, and I've done a few interviews on shows about Hugh Freeze's comments when it comes to quarterbacks. And the one that happened at Tiger Talk, we've hinted at it a few times throughout the show, where, hey, coach, is there a chance we see all three quarterbacks? He says, yes. Like, oh, okay. All right. People are twisting the words a little bit. This narrative's gotten a little out of control with, Hugh Freeze says that Auburn could play three quarterbacks. I'm like, well, the key word there is could. And also, he was just answering a question. He didn't get on Tiger Talk and sit down and look at Andy and Brad Law and say, yeah, we're going to play three quarterbacks against Baylor. Some people are talking about it as if that's how that happened. And that's just not. That's just not what happened. I haven't talked to you about this, so let's discuss this one before I move on to the other one that I do have a little bit more of a concern with.
I think that when I first heard the statement, it was what I went back to earlier in the show. It makes the Baylor defensive coordinator go, and think. It throws him off a little bit. Second of all, just because he says it doesn't mean it's going to happen. I mean, people act like that's in stone. Oh, he said yes, so we're going to see all three. Just because somebody says something, it doesn't mean that it's going to come to fruition. So I was with you. I heard it. It didn't even faze me. I mean, it was not even something that I gave a second thought to.
Yeah. The other aspect of it is, and I think this one there's a little bit more ammo with, as far as like, why did this happen? Like, this seems like an unforced error of him. War Eagle Plus is posting all this stuff with Cam Newton and the 2010 docuseries and all that stuff. And just a moment of Freeze talking with Cam, and he's like, Jack, it starts with your position. Jackson Arnold's Deuce Knight's going to be a beast. And I don't think Hugh meant anything by that. I don't think. And there's a lot of people doing reaction videos to that and all that. But it's like, if you are over Auburn's digital, you have to know that that's gonna happen. And like, if you want to keep that in the docuseries, I'm fine. That shouldn't just be posted. I just think that is a major unforced error when it comes to the PR aspect of Auburn, because there's been a lot of ups and downs over the last few weeks. And it's just, when you have an unforced error like that, I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Again, it's context. It could be part of a sentence that's in a long series of paragraphs.
Totally. Leave it in the docuseries.
Yeah.
Don't cut it out. Let it be behind the paywall. And this doesn't become a thing.
Well, the other thing is, did Hugh Freeze know he was being recorded when he said that? I wonder.
That's not on Hugh Freeze, though. You have You have a full digital team that's built to support the head coach.
But if Hugh Freeze is saying that kind of off the record, just between him and the Heisman Trophy winner, like, hey, especially since they wore the same number, all that, hey, this guy's going to be a beast. Then don't put that out there and make it look like it more than it is.
Yes, for sure.
Right. No, I agree with you on that. Totally.
I think that's a when they screw issue up than the Tiger Talk answer.
That deserves to be scrutinized and deserves to be criticized.
And I want to be very clear. It's not Freeze that I don't think he was saying anything negative about Jackson. I think he was saying something positive about Deuce.
But if you're Jackson Arnold and you hear that,
put that out there without full context. You can't.
It would bother me if I was the quarterback and I heard that. It would bother me a little bit.
What are you doing?
I wouldn't want to hear that.
Like, what's the goal of it? I don't understand it. I'm trying to think. Okay, if I'm trying to promote War Eagle Plus and promote, all this cam stuff. Like, there's just so much cam content. Like, you don't need to fish for more. I just don't get it.
I agree.
It doesn't make sense to me.
That's a faux pas. That's one that needs to be tightened up a little bit.
But still not buying it. But those two things happening within a few hours of each other earlier in the week, it did kind of feel like a 1-2 punch. But now that we're getting farther away from it, they probably shouldn't have been. But I understand why that they were. So, but not buying it. Not buying it. But I will ask you this: Let's take out mop-up duty. Let's assume, because I do think there's a reality that. One team separates from the other and you see other quarterbacks in. If you're Auburn, you hope that you do see all three quarterbacks and it's a mop-up duty, right? That'd be a dream. But outside, let's assume no injuries and no beatdowns, right? How many quarterbacks take a snap for Auburn? And I want to say quarterbacks. I'm not talking about a wildcat situation where you send it to Damari or Singleton or something like that. Quarterbacks. How many Auburn quarterbacks play against Baylor?
One.
I agree. And his name is Jackson Arnold. That's
absolutely. Absolutely. One. He's got the legs and the ability if you want to use the running game inside the 10. Now, through the course of the season, if there's wear and tear, but right now on the road with as big of a game as this is, Zach, one quarterback. You ride QB1 all the way through the game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's what's best for Auburn, and we'll learn. If he can get it done, the excitement and the narrative around Jackson Arnold will be awesome. And if it's not good enough, we're going to have some problems to discuss.
Yes, we will.
It's going to be either euphoric or devastating. And I see very few realistic options that are somewhere in between. Sadly.
I agree 100%. You locked on. You're locked on Zach.
I mean, I guess there's a chance Auburn could win 6-3 or something, but I don't know how realistic.
I'd take it, but that would be like I'll be there.
It's like okay, we got a few weeks to figure it out before we go to Norman, but goodness gracious, that's bad.
Being a glass half full guy, I would come out of that scenario and go, this is one of the best Auburn defenses in the history of you know what I'm saying? If they hold Baylor to 3, I'm shouting from the rooftops on the postgame show, dang, Zach, this defense is defense.
Keldrick, Jay Crawford, Lee. They're all over the place. That
would be the angle that I would take. And then I would say this, and I think Baylor's defense with Dave Aranda is much improved. That's how, with all the negativity.
This Baylor defense is going to run the Big 12.
Best defense in the Big 12. That's how your boy Dap would spin it. That's for sure.
Fun. That's fun. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
If you'll give me 1 second, I want to. I got a note here that I thought you'd really, really appreciate. If you humor me, we got a gentleman named Caleb that I found out over the weekend that watches our show every single day. And here's the cool part: him and his wife watch it together.
Wow!
And I've heard people say, "I love the show, but it's kind of cool." When you've got, and so they brought that to my attention. I thought that was kind of neat that I would bring that up on the show. I know you would appreciate it. Kind of give them a little mini shout out there.
Shout out Caleb and Caleb's wife.
Yeah, I didn't get her name, but that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
She'll know.
She'll know who she is. Yes.
And they'll hopefully watch this together. Very cool. Yes. Please like the video. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.